So let's give a little few seconds for people to join us. And
Yeah.
the gate is already open. People are joining us already. And while we wait for more individuals to join us, I just want to thank our experts, our journalists. Everybody is an expert in their field. So, and it's a really interesting time that we have at the moment, considering the fact that everybody is always interested in approaching journalism even much more differently. So with that said, I think I wouldn't want to waste the time any much further. So let me welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And if you don't know, if this is the first time of attending any of our sessions, I say thank you very much. My name is Paul Adepoju, and I'm the community manager for the English firm ICFJ's Pamela Howard Firm on Global Crisis Reporting. And every now and then we organize this session that are geared towards expanding the toolkit, information base, and our journalists' capabilities to handle stories uniquely. And of course, we also highlight and emphasize the importance for career development every now and then. So today we are looking at journalism fellowships, and hoping that at the end of the session you will be informed much more regarding. You would have a much better idea regarding how journalism fellowship works and what are the stuff that you should know. So we'll be taking insights from 3 journalists that are the winners, inaugural winners of the Jim Hoge Reporting Fellowship. So I'd like to start by introducing Mais. How are you doing, Mais? Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. And
So,
thanks for everybody joining us. And hi, Bárbara.
yes, you've already introduced Bárbara. Bárbara is also joining us today. Bárbara is also an inaugural fellow for the Jim Hoge Fellowship. Hello, how are you doing, Bárbara? Thank you for accepting the invitation.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you very much. And for all attendees, we are always interested in knowing where you are joining us from, of course, knowing you're joining as journalists. So please, you can actively engage with us using the chat box on the Zoom platform. And I also want to extend welcome to welcome those that are also watching this live stream on Facebook. I said thank you, George, for joining us. We're always excited to have you at every of our conversations. So this is not going to be a formal presentation directly. This is just going to be a conversation among journalists. And the first thing I would like to know, and so that you have to provide some background, is to ask our panelists their journalism experience and how they've progressed, what has been critical in their progression as journalists. So let me start with Mais. Mais, from one journalist to another, how has your career progressed, and what has been critical in your emergence as a journalist?
You mean in general as a journalist?
Yes.
Since
Yes.
I started? Yeah.
Yes.
I think if I want to talk about my career, I have always to remember the war, the conflict in Syria, because I'm Syrian and I'm covering the Syrian war, and I work with a lot of people inside Syria and outside. Half of the population, almost half of the Syrian people, are outside outside Syria. So it's always very special situation, let's say, like very challenging. So I think most of the things I worked on are related to Syria, but also a little bit on other conflict areas like Yemen and other countries in the Middle East, North Africa. Because I worked a lot on as a reporter and as a, let's say, like a journalist, but then also I worked a lot in the management, and that made me think also about training. So I kept switching between the different hats all the time, but journalism is always our aim, you know, as journalists, whatever we do. Being a journalist is the golden thing that you will ever have in your career. So that's why I'm always I want to tell stories. I want to communicate with people and give them the platform and you know, be their voice in a way, if I can.
Thank you very much for that. What about you, Barbara? What can you say stands you out regarding your journalism experience and your journey?
Yes, and I started in journalism because I really like to cover human rights and climate change. So I stand in this career because of this. And in Brazil, as you know, we are a huge country and we have a lot of problems in violations of human rights and environmental issues. So for me, it's so important to tell stories about this and about the people that are suffering with this. So the people are the center for my journalists. I was thinking about that. I think for all the journalists, I guess, but it's my concern about to do journalism is how I can put the people in the center of the narrative and tell their stories and tell their important stories in their own voice. So it's so important to me. And I started my career in covering the fashion industry in Brazil and in Latin America. So I was covering the violations of human rights in this industry. And I am changing to covering the general picture, so to covering human rights in general. So today I have been doing this.
Yes, so I will let the two of you take a little break so that there is also a third fellow that I will bring that can't join us live, but I had a recorded session with him over the weekend that I would like also to also share his insights. And I wanted to quickly check this, and we'll come back and learn from other participants. His name is Philip Obaji. I think a good place for us to start is what describes you as a journalist, the kinds of stories that you are doing, and how has been your journalism experience so far?
Well, to begin with, I have many descriptions as to how I appear as a journalist. I like to be known as a journalist because I pretty much do virtually everything that journalists do, especially online and print journalists. So I write on feature stories, I do opinions, I argue, I write arguments, and I also, especially in the last 2 years, I've done a lot of investigative journalism work. Many people know me as an investigative journalist, but I like, to be seen, just as a journalist. Yeah. Exploitation.
Yeah, I think there's a problem with the screen, and or maybe with the connection of Paul. So I don't know if you can also hear me, or is it only the video that you can?
I think it's general noise.
Yeah.
Wow.
10.5 million kids out of school. So when the Boko Haram insurgency began in 2009, I sought ways of, helping children, assisting children.
Is your voice okay? Is the audio okay?
The city of Maiduguri, where Boko Haram, was birthed. I wanted to see how we could assist kids in that city go to school rather than make themselves vulnerable to being recruited by Boko Haram. And then I got a little funding to begin to buy books and then to go door to door, encouraging parents to send their kids to school.
Oh.
So during my first visit to Maiduguri, somehow
Now,
I found myself
let's
in
pause and
an old Boko Haram camp.
let's
I
take a
went there to
pause and we'll come back to Philip's story. Philip's story is a very fascinating story, and I think it highlights the peculiar nature. Okay. Oh, the screen froze. Is it okay now?
No, it's okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Internet, I apologize for that. So I think it's really important. What Philip was saying was the fact that he was he didn't have a pure journalism background. And he's not the only one that had that experience. For me, I did not also go into a journalism school. I didn't study journalism for my undergraduate, but because I have a core science background, but because I was passionate about journalism, I decided to get additional training to allow me to be able to better report. So for you, let me start with Mais. How do you see fellowship? How do you see fellowship? But when you think about fellowship, what comes to your mind? And how do you think we can actually get the best out of fellowships? Apologies for the crappy internet today.
Yeah, I think fellowship for me and for many probably other journalists around the world is the kind of like, it's an opportunity to do something you really want. When we work with the media organizations or different newsrooms, we always do what managers and editors want from us, and what also like NGOs want. Sometimes you always connected to the project that you're working on. So most of the time you as a journalist, you don't really have the chance and the time and also the financial, capacity to do what you really, really want. And most of the time when we do that, we do it in our spare time, in our weekends. So we do our good projects, let's say, especially for me, like in the Middle East, North Africa, we have that a lot. So having like an opportunity, like being a fellow in a certain project and pitch your own story and work on it, it's something really special for me. And what I really think that it's very important for me always when during all the different years that I've been working as a journalist, is that every opportunity I get, even as it is a small opportunity, I try to do it as much like good as I can. So it turned to be a gate, not only a small opportunity. It's not about this opportunity, but it can be a gate for the future, because I can make it into an ongoing project, let's say, or I can do other things also. Because of the fellow, I can be connected with the great people like you guys, and like people in the ICFJ and the audience here. We're like every single small opportunity, you can make a new connection. And our work as a journalist as journalists is all about connections and about networks. So it's really like these three things are the most important things for me, like doing something I really like, and appreciating the opportunity and turning it to be like a gate for something else, and also networking and getting in touch with very good people.
Yeah, thank you. There is a question that I asked Philip, but I think I'll also bring back to Bárbara. Here's the question, and hopefully, what an ideal fellowship experience for you is supposed to be like when you are applying for a fellowship, when you are choosing a fellowship opportunity to apply to. What comes to your mind? What are you always on the lookout for?
Well, one thing, but there are a number of things, but I look out for fellowship that makes me become a better leader. I look at fellowships that make me become a better professional. Those two things are very key to me. So if I see fellowships that talk about leadership, I'm very keen. I'm getting involved. Excuse me. And as a journalist, I look out for fellowships that will make me tell better stories, or fellowships that will challenge me into pursuing something very, I won't say difficult, but very challenging as a journalist. I love challenges a lot, I love to do something that is out of the ordinary. So that's what my focus will be on: leadership, professionalism, and challenge, so to speak. Yeah.
What about you, Bárbara?
For me, I totally agree with Mais. I think it's a great opportunity to tell stories that we need to tell and that we want to tell in our own ways. So I think it's important to have this financial support, because we need stuff like this in journalism to improve our journalism and to do it with quality. And especially in Brazil, for me, I think it's important for pressure our governments in some subjects. So in my case, I will pressure about energy transition and some subject about it. So it's important for these two reasons. One, tell stories that we want to tell, and get this financial support and pressure governments. And of course, it's like Mais said, it's about connections. So it's a great opportunity to improve our connections and around the world. So for me, it's so amazing to be here talking with you and from other countries, and know people from other countries, and I think it's so great to improve the journalism in general around the world. So
yeah, thank you for that. So let's talk about what we believe should be the really big sins that you think journalists often commit. I'm not leaving you to this. I also share insight to me personally. When I was discussing with Philip, one of the things that Philip mentioned was the fact that journalists often think they are often applied to every opportunity that they see. Any opportunity to apply, any fellowship announcement, some journalists just apply for that. And I do agree that this is where the problem comes in. The problem comes in when some of these fellowships have a lot of requirements that you have to submit and dedicate a lot of time. So if you are trying to apply for, like, if there are 20 new fellowship applications that are open, and you're trying to say, okay, the more I apply for, the higher my chance of being selected for at least some of them, you may not be able to submit really good applications on all of these 20s, and this further reduces your chance of getting any of these opportunities. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I can see Mais not in the most, so you can.
Yes.
That's place.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Sometimes, like we see all these, you know, like grants and the projects that we can apply for. But then, if what I believe that if I apply for less projects or grants and do them like in a good way, then and give it a time and think about it very well, and think not only about what I want, but also what they want probably, or what's their aims or their the organization's objectives. So in that way, I can maybe have much better chance to get a grant or get a fellowship. I see a lot, many colleagues that because they want to apply for many opportunities, so they repeat themselves, or sometimes I go in a rush and I write it in like just on the application itself. I just fill it very quickly and submit it, and then we end up like complaining why they are not choosing us. These people, they are choosing their friends or something like that. And but also we cannot change other people, we cannot change the organizations, but we can probably change ourselves. We can do something different every time and improve what we can do in order to get the right opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to jump on that, or Barbara, or do you absolutely agree?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's nice.
Okay. Let's hear what Philip said in his own way.
I'll say so, because sometimes, you know, these applications are so competitive, because a lot of fellowships have been, you know, applied for by virtually everyone in the world, every journalist in the world, not every, but many journalists in the world apply for these kinds of fellowships. So you must look at, you know, if this applies to you, and you also must look at if you have what it takes to achieve, not just in the application, but also when it comes to the real fellowship itself. So that's what I look out for. Does this actually, I ask myself this question, does it actually blend with my kind of person and my kind of work? And if the answer is yes, I don't waste time in applying. So yes, people must always be intentional about, you know, what they're going for.
So like how everybody said, you have to be intentional about what to apply for. Don't just say a fellowship is out, you have to apply for it. I tried that approach. I experimented it personally as a journalist. I will say, okay, this year I want at least 4 fellowships. So I will just be sending out applications, and each application will require you to submit specific stuff. And before you know it, you're tired, you are stressed out. And sometimes when you go back to read your submission, you yourself, you believe that, no, I don't think I really desired my application would be successful. So most of the time, just be picky. You have to be picky about what you have to do. So which brings me to another issue, which is what this question I'm trying to achieve is, so journalists have an idea of your expectations going into a fellowship. So what idea do you have regarding what plan do you have for your Jim Hoge fellowship? What kind of stories do you want to take, and how do you plan to get the best out of it? I'm going to start with Barbara.
Okay. My stories is a series in videos, and about energy transition in Latin America, with focus in Brazil, of course, but also in Argentina and Guyana. And I will count four histories about it. So the objective, the aims is to pressure our governments, as I said, and to tell stories that haven't been telling. So I will talking about Amazon, of course, and the projects to explore oil and gas in Amazon and in some states of Amazon. And I will do stories about the fracking in Vaca Muerta, it's a region in Argentina, And there are so many pressure to get fracking to Brazil and to get the fracking in Brazil. So, and I was talking about stories about the renewable energy, because there are so many impacts. In Brazil have a renewable system for their energy, but there are so many impacts. So the focus about these histories is energy, of course, but the projects and the energy projects and the impacts for the traditional communities like indigenous, but it's not just like indigenous, but quilombolas, that's a type of communities that we have in Brazil, and all the traditional communities that we have. So the focus are it.
Okay, what about you, Mais? Can you share your plan?
Yeah, I want to tell a long form story about, it's called Three Women Who Won the War. And it's about the Syrian women during and before and after the war in Syria. And I want to tell the story about the Syrian woman from a little bit from a different perspective, because we are always in the news and everywhere in the reports as they show women as victims, but maybe I want to do it from a different perspective, where women are also contributing in making the world, making their country, making their relatives and people around them living in a better condition. So I use these, let's say, the stories of these three women as like a skeleton of the story. So it's like the drama outline, and then I will use their stories to engage people reading my story and reading all the background and the context around the Syrian war and the relation between women and being like in action as a woman, and influence the life of people in a positive way during the war. So and I want to include different kind of media in my project. I would like to do it a little bit also artistic, and so people enjoy reading it, not only like getting the benefits and feeling the emotions while they are reading, but also enjoying how it would be built like.
Okay, this is what Philip said about his own plan.
First of all, the Jim Hoge Fellowship only helps me, to do better what I've been doing literally all my life. So it's a reporting fellowship and really helps journalists, to uncover some of the most important issues that, hasn't been so much talked about, or maybe has been talked about, but, people need to, in depth about, that particular topic or that particular subject. So Jim Hoge, like I said, is reporting. And what we're expected to do as fellows is to report on very critical issues around us, from human rights to climate, and what have you, issues that, the world really, that affects the world in diverse ways. So personally, I will be reporting on the activities of the Russian Wagner group in Africa. I have done that before, but now I'm going to go in depth, much more in depth and new places. So a lot of my reporting on the Russian Wagner group has been in Central Africa. Many people must have seen my work on the human rights abuses, perpetrated by the Wagner group, especially in the Central African Republic. But Wagner is not just about military involvement. It's also not just about, exploiting African nations in terms of human mineral resources. It's not just about that. There's a lot more about this group that a lot of people have not, heard about. And there's even a lot more about this group that I also, who's been investigating the Wagner group for a long time, don't even know about. And I'm going to try to uncover some of these things. So I'm looking forward to it. This is a very interesting group. So I'm just trying to see exactly how much I can get going forward. But I believe support of Jim Hoge and a lot of people will get involved in my journey. It's going to end up as something really, really great.
Yes, thanks, Philip. And so we have some questions, and we are journalists. We are all journalists. We are not grant experts. So sorry, I keep changing places. When I go into training, as people come around, I have to shift to ensure this works. So we have a number of questions. Don't be, just share what your thoughts are regarding them. And so somebody is asking, what are the journalism fellowships available for journalists? I have a short list that I'm going to share at the end of this interactive session. So please wait for that. And so what are your thoughts? Atta would like to know about ideas regarding fellowship for young journalists, especially for fresh graduates. You know, many journalism fellowships often target the people behind these fellowships are usually looking for established journalists. And what are your thoughts regarding somebody that is just fresh out of college and is seeking a fellowship opportunity? Mais, please, can you start with that?
Yeah, I think there's many opportunities. They target young, people that they are fresh graduated, but also there's others that they target more experienced journalists that they can go into investigative journalism, let's say, or long form like videos or documentaries. So I think there is a place for everybody there, and it's always very good for young journalists to get a fellow somewhere, especially if it is like a little bit long, like 6 months or something, or even more, because sometimes it comes with the traveling. Then you learn about other countries and other people and about the industry more close. So it's always really great to get an opportunity when you just start your career.
Thank you. Bárbara, do you have any suggestions? Any contribution?
No, I think might cover me.
Yes. Okay. Then another question that Aditi would like to know: do fellowships choose a certain focus every year when they are looking for candidates? How can we find out what the focus of the year is? I'll start with that, and I think we can also go to Bárbara first. I believe if you're applying for a fellowship, please read the instruction. They are going to specifically state who they are looking for. And in many occasions, they often stick to that rule. And so except something happens out of the blues, that they would decide not to go along what they've already clearly stated. So the requirements, the type of journalists that should apply for such opportunities will be clearly stated in the instruction. Bárbara, what do you think?
About what's the question? Sorry.
Yeah, the person talking about whether there are restrictions determining whether you qualify to apply for a fellowship or not.
The time when
Deciding whether you qualify for a fellowship or not.
Sorry, I cannot understand. My English is not so good.
Yeah, it's like I think it's more like if this fellowship, how can I know that I can fit in this fellowship or not? Because sometimes, they say that, yeah, we target this country and that country, and then I really want to apply, but then I put an effort and then I missed the opportunity. I think, like, did you get that before, Bárbara, or did you hear about this also?
Yeah. I was reading the comments on the chat, and I was thinking it's important to bring a new vision about the stories, and I think it's important to bring up new vision about our own countries. I know it's journalists and it's ICFJ, it's about all the world, and they have offices in all the world, not offices, but people. But I think it's important because of this, because it's an opportunity to bring and to show and share a new vision about our own countries in our own voice. So, but other vision about one history, so like Mais have been doing with the Syria war and moments for there. So it's an opportunity to tell our stories with a new vision, with new perspectives about their own country for the whole world. So for me, it's important to think about this. How can I bring and how can I suggest a new perspective, a new frame about some stories and about my own country? And because it's important I think it's important to valorize our own territory. So that's it.
Yes, thank you for that. Let me see another issue we can discuss about. What about your thoughts regarding someone that is just returning to journalism after a long break from the industry? I personally believe fellowship is a really good way for that person to jump back on the horse, because it's good, like Mais rightly said, and Bárbara also said, you have a lot of time that you can use to write really good pieces, long pieces that you desire to write. So I strongly believe that I would recommend the fellowship for you if you've been away from the industry for a long period and you want to get back on it, because at the end of that fellowship, if you're able to write a really good story, it's like you announcing, yes, I'm back in the space, and everybody knows that you're back on the space and they can connect with you.
Yeah.
Mais, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you, but just do it if you really feel that you can do it, because it can be also like, the technology is changing a lot, the industry is changing a lot, and the way of writing is changing a lot. So I think if I would stop and come back again, then I would also give myself a little bit time to read and to see what my colleagues are doing, and refreshing, calling some old colleagues that they are still keep doing things now, and then, consulting them, asking them what their impression, and then jump into the horse, like you said, Paul, because it can be also a little bit tricky. It's very, very useful. Absolutely, I agree with you, but it can be tricky. So make it very good. Otherwise, give yourself a little bit time before you do it.
Thank you so much for that. Nelly has written something. Nelly from Nigeria writes, I worry about the label of Syria applicants branded on many African journalists, especially. On one hand, many journalists in developing countries need these opportunities to get training and compete with their more fortunate counterparts. On the other hand, some journalists are just opportunists. Should there be a cap on the number of fellowships a journalist should aspire to? How can sincere journalists who need these opportunities set themselves apart from frauds? Bárbara, did you read the question? And I would like your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I am wondering about it. So, because of it, the difference between global North and South North, it's huge. So I don't know if there are specific number of fellowships, but I think maybe it's about, we have been talking in the beginning of this webinar. It's an opportunity to tell stories in the way that we want to tell. So maybe get these opportunities and some specific opportunities to do it. So tell stories in our perspective, in Global South perspective. And but I think it's a great question, and I think it's not, there are a correct answer that will answer for all the questions that can be appear about it. So I think it's more about to do more journalism in our own country and how we can improve it, and how we can use journalists to improve the problems and to solve the problems that we have in our countries. But with this perspective, we are and we stay in the Global South, and it's so different between North South. So I think it's important to think about and to get ways to do different. But I think maybe it's the pathways is tell the stories in the way that we for me, for example, as a Latin journalist, I will tell the stories in the way that I think and that I have been listening, that needs to be counted, must be counted. So I think it's important to hear from people that are based in their territories, and they're based in the people that are the center of our own stories in these territories. So in this Global South, in Africa, in Latin America, in some parts of Asia. So I guess that's it.
Thank you so much. That was an interesting question I asked Philip, that I also want your thoughts on. What are the red flags you see in a fellowship that you just run away and say, no, this is not?
Okay. Before now, if I see a fellowship that will ask me for an English language test, I look at my schedule first. If I have the time to look for where to apply or where to take that test, then I have not applied for any fellowship that have asked me to take an English language test. First of all, I don't even agree with the fact that if you are from an English-speaking country, you have to go through that test. But also because I've not had too much time in one area, in one place, I travel a lot, so I haven't taken that yet. Then two, if a fellowship asks me to write a project proposal that I know is so cumbersome, and at the end of the day, it's going to distract me from my work, then I probably may not pursue, because I'll think that, well, okay, this is so much. I need to do a lot of research. It could take me weeks, it could take me maybe days, and even months, to achieve. And I look at my strengths, I see that it's also very difficult, very challenging for me to even achieve that in the first place. Because sometimes there's nothing wrong in writing, in trying to research for projects and writing these projects. But if you look at yourself and then think that, okay, you probably cannot achieve what they want you to achieve, and you're going to have to spend so much time in pursuing what may at the end of the day not yield any fruit, then it's okay to leave it. But if you think, and don't get me wrong, there are some fellowships that have to do with writing projects, which I will apply for because I have the time and I feel that I have what it takes to go for it, to pursue it. Those ones I will pursue. But if you think you don't have what it takes to research and then come up with a very good project, there's no need wasting your time. Otherwise, you spend so much time trying to write a project, and then you don't get the fellowship at the end of the day, you become discouraged. So it's also very key, when it comes to applying for fellowships, to have a good mental, sense, so that even when you don't get accepted, you can still try again. But let it be that you don't get accepted because maybe for some reasons that are not, based on how good your research topic was or how you put up your research. But yes, always go for what you think is something you can achieve, your strong points, and then just wait and see how it goes.
So what are your own personal red flags in a fellowship that you say, no, I can't apply, I'm not applying for this fellowship? Let's start with Bárbara. What are your red flags that you will not apply for that fellowship announcement?
It's a good question. I think maybe about the subject, or when it's a subject that I'm not covering. I think, but red flags. Maybe about the organization. If I have been here from another friends, that's not so good to work with, or with the specific organization that are offering the fellowships, or maybe when I get some stuffs that is about the way that I don't believe in the journalists to do. So the journalists that I not believe, I mean, so the colonized journalists, I need to say. So when I can get it in the organization or in the journalist involved or something like that, I think, oh no, it's not for me because of this. I'm a Latin American journalist. So, but I think it's in some moments, maybe we cannot get it, so it's difficult to answer. But I think maybe consult other friends that have been working or worked with this fellow specifically, or this organization that's offering this fellow. Maybe it can be a better way to know more about it. So for me, that's it.
Thank you so much. I also bring it to Mais. What are your thoughts regarding this issue? What do you run away from when you are not when you don't want to apply for a fellowship? What chases you away from a fellowship announcement?
Yeah, I think you know, our area, the Middle East, North Africa, and the conflict areas where always the war is involved, there's always also political money. There's the organizations with agenda, they are coming, and they most of the time they target us as a journalist. They want sometimes to use us, you know, and because then they do a kind of grant to make stories that it can fit their own agenda. So we have to be careful not to be part of somebody's, you know, agendas that we don't want. If we want to be independent, we have to be very careful. So this is the most, I think, most important thing that I would never apply for. Sorry for my camera.
No, it's okay. I thank you so much. I will let you catch your breath before I bring the two of you back for your last remarks. For your audience, I know we've had, I've been looking, I have a short list of fellowships that I would like to share with you. But I would like to start with a month-long initiative that we are kickstarting next week in the English Language Forum. And let me give you a quick background on this. Before it's on how to better report on mathematics. You know, we have a lot of journalists that are covering health, that are covering other bits. But I realized that only a very few journalists are actually covering mathematics, and it's a very vast ecosystem. And in addition to that, even if you are not a mathematics reporter, you can actually cover a lot of issues from a mathematics perspective. So which is the reason why we are putting together a month-long series of webinars that will bring about, we'll be having mathematics journalists, those that are actually reporting on this sector, that have been successful on it, to come and share their insights regarding the industry, how they got started, how you can succeed at it, how you can easily understand the kinds of people you ought to be talking to, where you can pitch your stories to. So I'm really, really encouraging you to come and be part of it. So we have a form for registration that I just put in the chat box. Please click that form, register, and be part of it. In addition to that, we plan to provide certificates, and we also have a $500 grant, a story grant to give at the end of the series. Please click that link and express your interest to be part of that. And that is the first thing. The next fellowship that the fellowship I would like to bring to your attention is for journalists that are based in India and are interested in covering water stories. So if this is something that is of interest to you, the criterion is that you have to be an Indian journalist and you must be based in Goa between the age of 19 to 35. So this is also a form that you fill. I'm going to put that link in the chat box right now. Goa Water Fellowship for journalists in Goa. So please, that is the link for you to submit your application for that fellowship. And the next fellowship that I would like to bring to your attention is a global one, and it's organized by the Radcliffe Institute. And this one is targeting journalists and film and video, sound and new media artists. Where this fellowship is happening is in Cambridge, in US. And there's also a stipend. It comes with a $78,000 stipend. You are going to be spending 8 months. It's going to offer you access to a lot of resources and experts. So please, like we said, if you have a long-term project, for instance, if you are trying to come back to journalism, I will encourage you to go big when you're trying to say you're back, or if you're a journalist that you've repeatedly been desiring to go and take off some time to actually focus on a dedicated project. This is that I'm going to recommend for you. So I'm putting the link in the chat box right now so that you can read and access, get more information about how to apply, and good luck about that. The next one I'm going to share is this one that is about those that organized by the New York Public Library. This is why I'm personally interested. You know, there are stories and you can also write a book. So if you have a long-term, very long story project that you want to work on, but you know, if you are trying to write a book or you're trying to write something that is major, and you may not be able to fully concentrate for a long period of time. So this is the reason why we have initiatives like this. But the deadline is fast approaching. In addition to that, you are going to get, if you are selected for this fellowship, it comes with $75,000. You are going to have an office, and of course, a full library to the New York Public Library. So I strongly recommend it if you have a long-term project that you want to work on, and I highly recommend that you are. If you are following the trend, there is a specific criterion for each of these applications. So except you can define something specific for all of them, I would really, really recommend that you only stick to the ones that best apply for you. So the next one on my list is the Club of Rome. They have a communications fellowship, and the goal of the fellowship is to increase diversity of voices that are covering sustainability issues. So in addition to that, it's meant to support early career communication professionals. So what this entails is a remote fellowship, but there is a trip it also comes with a trip to meet the Club of Rome team. You also get a stipend, and travel costs are also covered by this initiative. So if you're an early career practitioner, this is a fellowship that I highly recommend. But once again, like I've been saying it, please only apply for the fellowship opportunity that really incites that is specific for you and is perfect for your situation. And the last that I will share today, and I'm going to, is the Mongabe's Conservation Reporting Fellowship, which is truly global in nature. And what Mongabe does, anybody from any part of the world can apply for this fellowship, and is meant to provide, this fellowship provides you with opportunities to report on critical environmental issues. And it's a 6-month fellowship, and they are looking for a total of 12 fellows, and they've broken it down into 2 groups. So they are looking for 6 English, 6 will be in English language, while 6 will also be in Spanish. So, and so they really encourage applications from low to upper middle income tropical countries. So they are specifically seeking out individuals from this part of the world. So please, if this sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to apply. But like I said, like our panelists have said today, it can be tiring for you attempting to apply for all of these opportunities. And in addition to these ones that I've shared, IGNet regularly shares information regarding new fellowship opportunities. So please check out IGNet opportunities page and intimate yourself. Keep yourself abreast, and endeavor, anytime you've identified a fellowship opportunity that you want to apply for, endeavor to be very quick in your application. Don't wait till the last minute. I'm a victim of that. There are many good opportunities that I would have really benefited from that I waited to the last minute. Some of them I was unable to apply because I couldn't make up the time to do it. So please keep yourself on track, keep yourself motivated, and be encouraged to apply for these fellowships as soon as possible. Yes, so those are the issues that I want to bring to your attention. And I hope you've been able to make use of this information as you best wish. And I really hope you'll be joining us on a math reporting journey that is going to expand your reporting skills. As we wrap up, I will go to Mais for our last words. What are your remarks? What would you like to tell our attendees regarding this journey?
Yeah, I would like to say that we do like a very special job. Let's say it's very special. Not everybody is like having a kind of job that we have. Every day we do something different. Every day we meet different people. We tell stories of other people. It's also at the same time it's challenging. Always money is very little. So we're struggling always financially, let's say, all the journalists around the world. So let's just be very positive and try to enjoy our work and keep going. This is what I advise myself also before anybody else.
Thank you so much for that. And what about you, Bárbara?
I agree with Mais, and that's it. Keep it going, and I think it's we need to do it. So in Africa, in the West, in Latin America, we need to voice to tell our stories, and I think some fellowships is an opportunity to do it. So we need to do a good journalism and improve the journalism around the world with our the global South voice. So that's it. Thank you for this, Wagner, and this opportunity.
Thank you. I'm just seeing the comments. We have lots of comments from Facebook. Sorry, we can't take the questions, but I promise you, I'm going to get those links across to you on Facebook too, in the Facebook forum, so that you can apply. And those that I also still think do you want to get more links regarding this, please, I encourage you to join our Facebook forum I just put the link in the chat box right now. Click that link, request to join that forum, and I'm going to share the links. I want to appreciate I want to appreciate Bárbara. I want to appreciate Mais for accepting our invitation to be part of this conversation. I'm always inspired. I'm always encouraged to talk to fellow journalists because it's really good for journalism when individual journalists pursue self-development opportunities that are embedded in fellowships. It allows you to also write better stories. It enables us to better inform our audience and be better persons in general. I also want to thank Philip. Philip's session was quite extensive, and we all know that Wagner is a very topical issue. So I'm going to upload Philip's video on Wagner Group. He talked extensively about it, described how he has been covering them. And I think if you want to be doing something similar to something for you to also look forward to. Thank you so much, everyone on Zoom. And also let me thank Johannes on Facebook, Paul Omorogbe, Nimola, Johannes. I see everybody, and I say thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and it's bye from me.